Hey guys, what's going on? Well, I got three for you here. These are XTS 3000 Model 1s. I haven't gotten them on the CPS yet and configured the CUD plugs. 800 megahertz is what these are rated at. So admittedly, I get a lot of email with questions from people. I can't believe how much email I get from people asking me about 800 megahertz radios and how to program them. I don't do that. It takes system admin keys. I'm not going to get involved in that. It's just not a good idea all the way around to even get into. So let's just take the time right now to address the 800 megahertz folks. And I'll tell you right now, if you have a unit, if you're looking for a unit, this is going to be a long video, fuck it. If you're looking for a unit, I'm going to just tell you how to do it. Because I get a lot of emails, and it's just a lot easier just to tell you right now how to do it. If you're checking the back tags of a radio, that's going to tell you the model number. If it's okay, just swap this housing out. The housing that came with it was pretty good. These are going to be hitting eBay. I don't keep 800 megahertz around. I don't really care for 800 megahertz. My state police are on 800 megahertz, but you know, I mean, I really, I just don't have any need for it. But they're good sellers, so I'm not going to knock it. But if you're looking at the model number, okay, you see H09. Doesn't matter what these numbers are. The first three, the fourth, the fifth, and the sixth are going to tell you what model number it is. If that fourth letter is a U, it's an 800 megahertz. Okay? I believe, I'm not going to go into 900 megahertz. If the fourth digit is a U, which is what this is, it's an 800 megahertz radio. If it starts with a K, it is a VHF radio. If it starts with an R, it's an R split radio, which is UHF 403 to 470. Starts with a C or an S, it is the high split S split, which is 450 to 512. Look on that fourth digit, and the three letters that go right after that are going to tell you more information. Every number and letter on a model number tells you, and you can go onto Google and you can find this. If you look at the model number, there's a chart. All you have to do is go to Google, type in Motorola model number chart for two-way radios, Jedi, or XTS, or whatever the hell you want to put in there. It will take you to a chart that will actually, it's a diagram, and it tells you what this number means, what that number means, or what that letter means. All the letters and numbers mean something. If it's an AN, that means it has an A flex, and the A flex assemblies are kind of a bitch. What a lot of people do is they will have these converted to a B flex, which this has been done. I don't know about the other two, but it was good to see that. AN flexes are a little more brittle. But again, if you're looking for a 403 to 470, that fourth digit, or fourth letter rather, is going to be an R. If you're looking for a high split, S, 450 to 512, that's going to be an S. If you're looking for 800 megahertz, it's going to be a U. if you're looking, and I believe 900 is W, but I could be wrong. It's been a long time since I've messed with 900s. And if you're looking for a K, that's going to be, or I mean a VHF, it's going to be a K. That's really all I'm going to tell you about that. Flash port is important. If this number doesn't start with a 1, it's not going to be a digital unit unless it's been worked on. They didn't change the tag. If it starts with a 1 or a 5, it's going to be digital and analog. If it starts with a 0, it's not. You can go to Google and you can type in flash code decoder, and it will take you to acronym. This guy's on Bat Labs, and he's developed the flash code decoder. He's a very smart guy. I've never met the guy myself, but he's helped me out tons just by his information. I found all this out, you can find it out. So I mean, if you're looking, and not only that, if you want to know what frequencies you need in your area, if you're scanning or going to use a radio for your department, number one, if you're in a department, go to your department head and talk to him about the repeater and things like that. That's the best thing to do. If you want to know about your radio, take it off, take the battery off, look at the back plate, and do just what I told you, and that will tell you. So 800 megahertz radios, they can be programmed not to affiliate with the tower systems, but it's just like a cable TV. It costs money to be on a tower. It's access is what it is. Nextel came through with 800 megahertz and 900 megahertz radios, or cell phones, and really kind of screwed up that system and that network. There are still a lot of 800 megahertz radios around, but Nextel screwed it up for a lot of people, and in public safety. And they were bigger, and so they had to make some changes, and changes they made. But anyway, I don't program trunked. If you're going to be on a trunked network, you need to have a system key. You need to know what you're doing. There's very few people who are going to even touch programming for you. If you're on a, if you're in a department, hold on. It may be a long video, but this is something that needs to be said, and I might as well just say it here because I'm tired of going over it in emails, because I'm serious. I get so many a day about the same thing. So I have drink. Coke, not beer, don't worry. Never was much of a drinker. But anyway, you need a system key, and you need admin, and you need access. So all that requires clearances. Yeah, you can use and program 800, but you need to know what you're doing. If you ask me to do it, I'm going to tell you no, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I've told you here, and I'm just going to start referring people to this video. I'm not going to program trunked 800 megahertz systems. I don't care if you say you're from the police department such and such. I don't care if you're a police chief. I don't care if you're a fire chief. It makes absolutely no difference in the world how many, how high in rank you go, and it makes no difference how high in rank you go, and it makes no difference who you are. if you ask me that, I'm going to tell you no. You know, if you say you've got, say you've got the clearances, well, you know, your department is set up to take care of that for you. And also, programming public safety radios from a liability standpoint is not a good idea. And I'm not going to get roped into that because, you know, if something happens and your radio goes down, and if you are in public safety and somebody dies because of it, well, who are they going to come after? They're going to come after Motorola? They're going to come after the person who programmed the radio? No, that ain't going to happen. So, that's why I don't program radios. Liability. You know, when I program radios on scan lists and to test, and I put in banks, you know, of channels, that's all done on a conventional, unconventional, and conventional simplex. I'm not gonna, you know, start getting into repeaters and stuff like that. Any public safety frequencies, that ain't gonna happen. You know, if you want receive only, yeah, I could probably do that, but chances are I'm not going to, because programming's a bitch. You know, if you've spent any time in a layered program like the XTS series, the more features you have, the more layered that program's going to be. 11 minutes in, sorry, but this needs to be said. If you get into an XTS 2500 and XTS 5000, that program is going to be even more layered, and you're going to have more boxes and more tabs to go around to deal with it. So that's why by the time, you know, 35 bucks is what, you know, 35 and 45 bucks is what people charge to program radios. It's not enough. It's not enough for the time spent at the computer punching in numbers, you know, especially when you don't know your frequencies. Don't buy a radio if you don't know your frequencies. It's just that simple. You know, if you bought a radio, you know, it looks real good, you know, it's digital, and it's an XTS series. That doesn't mean it's the right radio for you. The frequencies that you're going to be on, or if you're a scanner, you know, scanner buff, the ones that you're going to be, you know, on receive only listening to, you need to know what those are. And it's not up to the programmer to go to radio reference, look up your county, and do it for you. You've got to be able to submit all that to the programmer. Because, I mean, when you're in a layered system, you can't exactly, it's not the most opportune thing to do, to go to radio reference, close down that box, go to radio reference, write down each little individual number, you know, and decimal point and everything else you need to do, and then go back into the program. By the time you get done with that, you know, especially if you want 48 channels, and you have a programmer who's who's going to those lengths, you know, by the time that guy's done, he's going to be making less than minimum wage, and I mean, less than minimum wage. So that's why I don't program. These are great radios. Let's just get off that. But that needed to be said. I've told you how to look for model numbers. I've told you how to look for flash codes. The flash code on Model 1s is on the back tags. If this is a Model 2 or a 3, what you need to do is you need to go to service mode. You turn the radio on, because radios can be reflashed. These can be reflashed. These have been reflashed. These radios are XTS 3000, digital and analog. They're APCO P25, and they're 800 megahertz. They're trunking radios. They're 48 channels, and I know that one doesn't have encryption in it. I'm not going to check the other two. I think the other two have multi-key. I'm not sure. You can go and you can check. But again, Google is your friend when it comes to things like that. I am not. So it's just a time deal, and I can't keep taking time to go and find out answers for you when, you know, you can find them just as easily by yourself because it's all there. Radio reference, acronym, flash decoder, and go to the Motorola and favorite those. Go to the Motorola, type in Motorola model number chart. You can either choose Jedi or XTS. It's going to take you to basically the same chart, and it will tell you what the model number breaks down at. So, and what you do on a Model 1, or I mean a Model 2 or a Model 3, turn the radio on. When it turns on, the minute that it comes on, this one's unprogrammed by the way, the minute it's on, okay, it's going to start, you'll start seeing numbers and letters across the screen. In that, you're going to see, and you've seen it in my other videos, you're going to see a flash code. Write that flash code down. You're going to have to go through it 2 or 3 times to get all those numbers because, you know, there's several in a flash code. And you write those numbers down, then you go to the acronym flash decoder, you type it in, you find out what your flash is. That's if you don't have CPS and if you can't put it on your computer. That's how you find out. If you're on eBay, you know, if you're hunting around on eBay and you see a radio you like, you've got to go and do the same process for them. You know, the model number, I told you, U is for 800, K is for VHF, S is for 450 to 512, R is for 403 to 470. Q, by the way, is 380 to 470, and it covers a little bit more. 5000s have that. W, I believe, is for 900. Like I said, it's been a long time since I messed with 900s. These are good radios, as far as I know. I haven't gotten them on the CPS yet and programmed up, so I don't know anything yet on them. But I don't foresee anything untoward happening. These come with Jedi mics. They'll be sold with them. I have one with, there's, you know, they're great shape, good looking mics. And you also need to, all these model numbers will tell you a lot about your ear. So, I mean, every single one of them has a purpose. But these are good radios. They're very good. They're very clean. They've been through NCIC. They have generic antennas on them from, I think it was Cowell Mall. I'm not crazy about generics, but at the same time, they're good antennas. They're not the best antennas in the world, but they'll get you by. And, you know, I suggest that they get you by only until you can get a hold of a Motorola, but that's up to you. I'm sure people use those generics and get by just fine. It's the same way with program cables. You know, I mean, you can buy a program cable with a rib, you know, and spend $350, $400, you know, or you could just buy a $25 generic programming cable and call it good. But if you're getting into a high tier radio, which I consider these to be in the higher tier, even though they're older, but if you get into a 5000, you don't want to brick a 5000, and cheap cables can do that. But that said, if your computer's screwed up, your computer can also fail on you while you're in a write process. So, you know, I mean, there's so many variables when you're programming radios that you have to take into consideration. Just because you've spent a lot of money on OEM cables and spent a lot of money, you know, on the radio doesn't mean that you're gonna, you know, you're insured that your computer is not up to speed. And it's just as simple as that. You could have your, you know, USB, something wrong in the device manager. You need to check that out. But anyway, these are the 2 or 3 800 megahertz radios I have. They're very good. You know, for the people who need them, they're very nice. And like I said, APCO P25. They're not going to be sold with the FDN1 knobs. A lot of people are asking me about those. Those are gone. They're completely gone. They're completely out. I mean, I've got some, but I'm keeping the ones I've got, and I'm holding on to them like a tight-fisted monkey. I mean, Just that simple. They're too damn hard to get a hold of, and they're worth every penny. If you paid, if you paid $25 for this knob, you would get all your $25 back in a year by using that knob. I mean, it's just that good. That's why you don't see a lot of my radios without them. The only reason this one doesn't have one on here is because that knob is particularly tight. I'm running low on insert retainers. If the retainer puts sometimes on tight cases, that's a good sign, by the way. If it comes off that knob, then I've got to put a replacement insert retainer in there. Go to Wiscom, they're $285. I found another source who can get them to me for about $240, $230, plus shipping. So I mean, they're not cheap. But anyway, that's what I've got, and that's pretty much what I wanted to mention about on the 800 megahertz, and really just all the questions that I've been getting. So I'm sorry this was boring, but at the same time, if that saves me a few emails and makes it easier for the people who are looking for radios to find what they need, and keeps them from buying the wrong type of radio, well, you're welcome. Because nobody wants to spend a lot of money and find out, oh shit, I got the wrong radio. That's happened to a lot of people, and believe me, you're not the first if it's happened to you. But do your research, and Radio Reference will tell you what frequencies are in your area. If you're in public safety, you've already got that information. If you don't have that information, get the information. It's within your department's area to know that. So, find out that information. Best source is Radio Reference. If you don't want to go through all the red tape. But, as far as repeaters, no. If you want trunked, then you're going to have to, do that, have that done through the proper channels. Liability is too great to have somebody, like me do that, because I'm not going to lose everything I've worked for some, screwed up reason over a programming issue that turned into a public safety disaster just because your radio quit working. They would definitely go after Motorola, but I know how lawyers are, and most of those lawyers will not stop there. They'll go after who sold you the radio, who programmed the radio, who their mother is, who their father is, who their pastor is. They're going to go after everybody they can to maximize their bottom dollar that they get out of a judgment. So it's just not a good idea. And by the way, there are some systems that are encrypted. Well, if they're encrypted, that means you can't listen to them. You can't even listen to them. You can't listen to them on a scanner. Don't buy a radio that has encryption thinking that you're going to be able to listen to encrypted transmissions. If you're not allowed to listen to encrypted transmissions, federal laws have been passed to make that illegal. It fell under the Wiretap Act, and then in 1993, I think it was 1993 and 1996. I could be off by a couple of years, but they've been around for a while. Don't think that you're going to be able to, break into a tower and listen to encrypted conversations. Why would you want to anyway? Chances are there's not a whole lot going on those encrypted frequencies, less than you would think. Most of those wouldn't even be in use, well, I take that back. Texas is completely encrypted. I believe Australia is, in large part encrypted. So yeah, there's a lot of pissed off scanner people. Don't think that you're going to buy a radio that has encryption and automatically be able to listen to, anything you want. there are keys, and there are encryption keys that have to be programmed in to your radio and loaded, and those have to be mated to the radios that you're speaking with to be encrypted. So actually, when you're talking on an encrypted frequency, you can go and you can hear me talk to a radio with encryption, how it sounds on a system. If you dig through my videos, you can find that. But it sounds garbled on the other end. That's all scanner people can hear, and that's all anybody can hear. And you know, it's just that way for a reason. Most military is like that. But don't buy a radio thinking that you're, you know, that because it has encryption, you're going to be able to, you know, listen to encrypted conversations. You're not, unless you're actually a part and privy to those conversations. Because, you know, there have been federal laws passed that make that illegal, and they don't just go after you, they go after whoever programmed the radio. Another reason why I won't program radios. It's just not a good idea, and doesn't pay to do it, and I just don't like doing it. So, you know, yeah, you can thumb this video down all you want. I'll give the video the first thumbs down just for the duration of this. But at the same time, I'm giving you a lot of information that's going to keep you, a lot of you, because I've got the emails to prove it, from fucking yourselves over in the end and buying the wrong equipment for what you actually need. Yeah, this started out to be a radio review, but you know, there's been a lot of email that I've had to answer that I'm not going to answer anymore because it doesn't need to be answered. I just answered it here. So I'll just say, hey, you know, got a video, check it out. It's the one with all the thumbs down. Anyway, these come with single rate chargers, not rapid rate, just standard rate. They're desk chargers, but they're very good. So I've got two with mics and one single. They'll go with stock. I won't have radios without these adapters on them and FDNY knobs, if I can help it. But right now I'm running low, and I've got putting in an order for some insert retainers tomorrow. Anyway, that's pretty much it. You know, if you do want the, you know, also on an 800 megahertz, if you do try to get in to a system tower, well, just by turning your radio on, I'm not going to tell you exactly what you need to do to get around that, because I'm not going to necessarily tell you that I even know. But it's called OTAKC, or it's over-the-air kill is what it is. I'll just tell you that much. Just by powering on your radio, if you're not allowed, and if you're not a member, to be on that tower, on that system, the dispatch console can send an over-the-air kill signal to your radio and brick it, you know, so it can scramble your code plug, and then you'll have a radio that, you know, that barely turns on when it first, you know, when you power it up, barely turn on, you know, it just bricks it. It, you know, completely screws it up. You've got to go through a lot of work if you're going to get that fixed. But, you know, at the same time, most people, when that's happened, deservedly get frightened and say, oh shit, you know, what happened on my radio? And, oh, I better not say anything. And, you know, I've seen a lot of them on eBay, and people say, well, I don't know anything about the radio. Bullshit, you do too. You know, you bricked it. You were, you know, signal bouncing on, you know, towers, and they killed your radio with an over-the-air kill command. Sorry, you know, but don't give me that bullshit about, you know, oh, I don't know what the radio is. Bullshit, you do too. You have the radio, you use the radio, you know, I mean, people just don't buy radios and not know anything about them, although some people, I've run some people who do. But I'm just giving you the skinny on that stuff because I've been getting too many emails. So in this 29-minute video, that is just absolutely way too fucking long. That's probably going to take about 3 days to upload. I've told you everything you need to know about why I will not, you know, do your radios for you. So there, thank you. You're welcome, you know. I mean, it's just that simple. And, you know, I mean, there are a lot of good guys out there who know this stuff. And they watch my videos, and they're in the know. There's a lot of people that watch my videos that, you know, I more than welcome, you know, to hear from them. But there are, you know, those oddballs that come on that I've never heard of, and, you know, with a bunch of, you know, castles and dragons game videos that, you know, want to buy radio systems so they can listen to encrypted conversations. You know, gee, me, stay in the virtual world, because, you know, this one isn't obviously going to work out for you. But anyway, that's it. So much for that shit, and, you know, sorry this is a long video. If you don't want to watch it, thumb it down. I don't give a fuck. But, you know, I'll give it the first thumbs down just for the hell of it. That's really the main thing I wanted to get out in this video. But these radios are really nice. Model 1s, takes about a minute to review, but it'd take me about 10. But it's taken 30 because of these emails. And, you know, from people that really need to know this stuff. And, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of people lose a lot of money because they don't know the information. I've given it to you. I've given it all. You know, I mean, and well, I've given you about a thimbleful. You know, I mean, the rest of it you'll find as you go, just like I have. But that's, you know, those are your main, you know, that's the main thing you need to do. Model number, flash code, and know that if you're going to be, you know, going to be getting with somebody on a tower or talking on encrypted, you know, encrypted systems, yeah, you can do that radio to radio, but, you know, there's also over-the-air rekeying, which is OTAR, and they can switch those keys. Well, if you're listening, you know, like you're not supposed to, and I don't know how you would be, because, you know, it's really just like a lock. It's a key and a lock, and it's very hard, you know, I mean, you'd almost have to be a locksmith and a mind reader to know exactly, you know, exactly how to get into something like that. Don't dick with it. Leave it alone. You're not supposed to be in there. Get out of there. And, you know, if this video offends you, fuck you. You know, I mean, I'm sorry if it offends you, but, you know, at the same time, if you're signal bouncing, you're not only impeding traffic that needs to get through, you're breaking federal law. Don't do that shit. You know, I mean, it's just not a good idea. You'll be on the front page. You know, it's just not a good idea. Don't do that shit. Stay away from it. You know, if you want good radios and, you know, you're in an area that where you don't have to go trunked, you know, good for you. You know, other people know a whole lot more about programming than I do. I'm an idiot, and I'm very, very, very comfortable telling you that. You know, I've got no power or no, you know, no bullshit, you know, like that. You know, I'm an idiot that, you know, just barely gets by, but, you know, I pick up a thing or two as I go, and, you know, what I try to do is learn, and I've done that. You can do that. You know, if I can do that and, you know, be the silly idiot that I am, you can do that as well. So, you know, I've given you the information. Radio reference, the flash code decoder, and go look for model number charts. Do that. If you need encryption, you can talk radio to radio if you've got both radios set up for the right keys. And really, nobody is supposed to be able to hear you, although they can. You know, there are some systems that can break that, but that's actually illegal as well, and falls under the Wiretap Act. But if you're trying to bounce signals off of towers, and if you don't know what you're doing, and, you know, you're not supposed to be on the system, your radio deserves to get bricked. And And I really hope that that happens to those people, because there's, vital traffic that needs to get through, and your radio on that tower is not helping that traffic get through. It's just impeding it. So stay away from shit like that, and don't ask people to do things like that. Oh, it's just, surely you can do that. How do you get around this? How do you get around that? There's no getting around it. All right, later on. Sorry guys, not really. Take it easy. Bye.